Welcome back to another episode of Finch Fridays. Are you confused about which frames per second to use? Do you use 24, 25, 30, 50, 60, 100, 120? In today's episode, I'll try and explain a few things and rules, especially when it comes to wedding films. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe to my channel. I talk all things wedding videography and video production. I've been running my own business since 2018, specialising in wedding filmmaking and social media for small businesses. I've set this channel up to sort of document my day-to-day of running my business and sort of the things I encounter and the problems and the solutions I have. So in this video, I'm going to talk about what settings I use when I film weddings. So let's start off with the cinematic frames per second. Now this is 24. My main camera that I'm filming on now can shoot in 24 frames per second. This is one of Canon's Cine ranges, the C200. I bought this back in 2018 and it is a real good workhorse and I've loved every video production and wedding I've filmed with it. Now, I use this as my A cam. My B cam, which is another Canon, but at the minute it's the 6D Mark II. I am looking to upgrade, which is for another video. But that camera cannot film in 24 frames per second, and your camera may be similar to that, but it can film in 23.976. So that is the closest frames per second you'll get for that cinematic look. So, as I've said, this is the settings I've always used for previous weddings, but this year I've decided to change it to 25, and as long as you follow this one simple rule, you can still make your footage look very cinematic, and I'll explain that rule at the end of this video. But if you want to see if your camera can film in 24 frames per second or 23.976, you probably need to change your camera settings to the NTSC, which if you're here in the UK, we usually shoot on PAL, but most cameras have both PAL and NTS settings. So just switch it over to NTSC and you can probably access loads more different frame rates. So as I've just said, in some countries such as America, they use NTSC and the UK is PAL. And even though I've been filming weddings since 2018, I've now decided to flick back to 25. For all other video production stuff, I've always shot at 25 frames per second, just like my YouTube video here. But for weddings, I've decided this year to shoot at 25 frames per second. And that is mainly due to the light flicker you get at some venues. No major issue because there is software that you can buy, or there's a little trick in editing software that you can sometimes do to remove the flicker. So it's no major issue if you still wanted to film at 24 frames per second in the UK. But before I talk about the settings I use for PAL, if you're in America, you will probably be shooting weddings either on 24 frames per second or 30. And remember, there is that cinematic, to get that cinematic look, I've got that one rule that you need to do, so stay tuned till the end of the video. So the PAL settings, the UK settings. Standard is 25, and this is the new frame rate I'm going to use for all my ongoing wedding films. I already use this for my video production stuff, but I've decided this year to change for the wedding films as well. I usually film the whole day on 25 frames per second. I'm going to do another video explaining when I do change my settings, my frames per second settings. But that, like I said, that is for another video. But sometimes I do change it to 50 and 100. But like I said, I'll explain that in another video. So I don't want you to get confused with HD and 4K with the different frames per second. Your frames per second will always be the same whether you're shooting in HD or 4K. And for weddings, I actually film in HD. I just personally, I don't know if it's because I just love the quality of the C200, but I edit wedding films quicker, doesn't take as much storage. the delivery all fits nicely on a USB. And if it's 4K, is it really needed for the wedding couple? You know, it's just, it could be a little bit overkill. So if you haven't already, please like and subscribe to my channel. I try and get a video out every week or every other week. Obviously, the people who know about my daughter with her cancer, I don't always get a video out every week, but I am trying to, I promise. So the rule that I mentioned previously. So it doesn't matter what frame rate you're on, you need your shutter speed to be double your frame rate to get that nice motion blur that they use in cinematography in the films. It will give you the most cinematic settings. So on my Canon, I used to film at 24, so my shutter speed would be 48. It's now 50 because I shoot at 25. If your camera can't quite get the exact number, just get, as close as you can to it. One other thing I love about this camera is it actually gives it in degrees as well. So I've actually got it set to 180 because it's known as the 180 degree rule. So even when I flick from 25 frames per second to 50, it automatically changes my shutter speed as well for the 180 rule. Even for my drone as well, I use the exact same rules. So everything is looking sexy, slick. It all has that same feel to it. So just remember to double your shutter speed. So I hope this video has helped you decide which frame rate you're going to film in. So to clarify, if you're in the UK, you'll be in your PAL settings. And if you don't want much, if you don't want any shadow flicker light flicker, film in 25 frames per second. You can film in 24, but you can't really go wrong filming in 25. If you're in America, I'd either film at 24 or 30 frames per second. Thanks again for watching another episode of Finch Fridays. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.